On July 25, 1956, the SS Andrea Doria was struck by the passenger liner Stockholm. The Andrea Doria immediately began to list. Thankfully, all but 46 of its 1,660 passengers were able to evacuate before the ship capsized and sank.
July 26, 1956. The Italian liner Andrea Doria in her death throes. The final act in what might have been one of the worst sea tragedies of all time. The proud ship was smashed by the Swedish liner Stockholm in the dense fog south of Nantucket. The Stockholm stayed afloat, her icebreaker bow smashed, and she limped into port with hundreds of survivors from the Andrea Doria. What prevented a major tragedy was the fact that a dozen rescue vessels were in this heavily traveled area, thus preventing an appalling loss of life. As it was, 50 died, many killed outright in the crash. The more seriously injured were flown by helicopter to Nantucket, where they were cared for by medical men who came from 100 miles away. Most of the injured were from the Doria. Few aboard the Stockholm were hurt. Now the end for the $29 million vessel. 11 hours after the midnight tragedy, the Andrea Doria goes to her watery grave. Meanwhile, into New York Harbor steams the Ile-de-France with 758 survivors after a night of heroic rescue work in the fog and darkness. There are happy reunions for families separated during the night. Medical aid was ready at dockside for the injured, and waiting were anxious friends and relatives who had had no definite word during the long night. There were joyful reunions as well as hidden tears. In retrospect, the Andrea Doria Stockholm disaster remains one of the sagas of the sea.